The first light of Solara flickered across the horizon, casting a golden hue over the fractured city of Arendor. Smoke spiraled into the sky like dark serpents, remnants of the alien bombardment that had begun 3 days prior. Humanity, unprepared yet unyielding, clung to survival with a stubborn tenacity that no Xal'thar scout or warship could comprehend. Among the rubble, a young commander named Ilara Voss moved with a calm that belied the chaos around her. Her eyes, a vivid shade of amber, reflected not fear but determination. Behind her, a ragtag team of survivors scrambled, scavenging supplies, tending to the wounded and preparing makeshift defenses. Ilara's voice rang clear, slicing through the panicked whispers of the desperate. "Focus, people. Fear is what they want. They count on it, but we—" She gestured at the crumbling skyline. "We are not defeated." Her words carried weight, not because she shouted, but because she embodied the unyielding spirit of the human race. In the distance, the alien war drums pulsed through the air like a heartbeat, low and relentless. The Xal'thar, with their towering frames and iridescent exoskeletons, had descended upon Arendor with merciless precision. Their voices, a chorus of clicks and shrieks, carried a terrifying intelligence, an understanding of strategy that made every human instinctive decision a battle against cunning. But humanity was unpredictable. Ilara knelt beside a young boy, no older than 10, whose arm was bandaged with a torn shirt. His eyes were wide, shimmering with tears that had yet to fall. "What's your name?" she asked softly. "Lior," he whispered. "Good, Lior. Can you help me pass these supplies to the north barricade?" He nodded, fumbling as he grabbed a crate of medical supplies. The boy's trembling hands mirrored the fragility of life, yet there was courage there, raw, unshaped, and brilliant. Ilara rose, surveying the city streets. The alien ships hovered, dark silhouettes against the sun, their energy pulses illuminating their terrible might. Yet among the human defenders there was a spark no Xal'thar could extinguish: defiance. The first skirmish came abruptly. A Xal'thar patrol descended upon the northern barricade, their mandibles clicking like metal against stone. Humans, armed with scavenged rifles, flamethrowers, and sheer willpower, met them head-on. Ilara sprinted to the front, rallying her team. Her voice carried not just commands, but belief, a belief that ignited hearts. "Hold the line! For your families! For tomorrow!" Bullets whizzed. Explosions shattered the morning calm, and screams of both terror and triumph echoed. Humans fell, yes, but they rose again, dragging the wounded with them, refusing to let fear dictate their actions. Among the chaos, a strange sound emerged, a high-pitched resonance that froze the humans in place. The Xal'thar had brought a mind-weaver, a psychic terror meant to crush human will. Its presence made thoughts cloud, hearts pound, and courage falter. Ilara's mind screamed, but she clenched her fists and focused. She felt the panic rising in her companions and reached out to them, not with magic, but with words. "Breathe, stand. We are human. We do not break." And something remarkable happened. A ripple of clarity spread through the human line. One by one, the defenders found their footing, their fear giving way to fierce determination. Humans were not just fighting with weapons, they were fighting with spirit. By sunset, the northern barricade held. Not perfectly, not without cost, but humanity had survived. The Xal'thar withdrew, calculating, confused by a resistance that should have crumbled in seconds but instead clung to life with stubborn ferocity. Ilara stood atop a ruined building, the wind tugging at her hair, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Somewhere out there beyond the burning skyline, the alien legions were regrouping. She knew the battles ahead would be worse and the cost would be higher. Yet for the first time, a smile tugged at her lips. The dawn had not broken for Arendor, it had been fought for. And in that fight, humanity revealed its most dangerous weapon, an unbreakable spirit. As night fell, the city hummed with quiet resilience. Fires flickered, shadows danced, and human voices carried softly over the rubble, whispering stories of courage and hope. Somewhere in the distance, the Xal'thar watched, unsure how to overcome a species that refused to bow. Ilara knew one truth: they were unstoppable. Night had draped Arendor in a thick, uneasy silence. Fires from shattered buildings cast flickering shadows across the streets, giving life to shapes that weren't there. Yet beneath the smoke and ruin, a pulse of determination beat within the human survivors. a rhythm the Xal'thar could neither measure nor suppress. Alara Voss moved through the city's labyrinthine alleys, her mind a careful balance of strategy and instinct. Leo ran at her side, clutching a makeshift lantern. "Commander," he whispered, "do you think they'll come back?" Ilara's amber eyes softened as she placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Yes," she said, her voice steady, "but that does not mean we fear them. We prepare, we fight, and we endure." Her words were a mantra, one she repeated not only to the boy but to herself. Humanity had faced disasters before, plagues, wars, famine, but never an enemy like the Xal'thar, whose very presence seemed to bend the world into something unfamiliar. And yet she felt something primitive awaken within her, hope, sharp and unrelenting. At the edge of the city, the survivors had set up a temporary command center inside a crumbling library. Dust hung in the air like mist, mingling with the smell of smoke and sweat. Maps marked with hastily drawn lines and symbols, covered tables where humans debated strategies with fervor. Each voice carried fear, yes, but also fierce conviction. Alara addressed them, her tone firm but infused with a quiet fire. "We've survived the first wave," she began. "The Xal'thar thought they would find us broken, but they underestimated something fundamental: our spirit. Tonight we plan not just to survive, but to strike back, to remind them. No alien force can dictate our destiny." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. Among the leaders was Taryn Hale, a former engineer whose hands were as skilled in repairing weapons as in inspiring courage. Beside him stood Celine Muir, a medic whose calm presence could soothe even the most frantic heart. Together with Alara, they embodied the unspoken truth that humans thrived when united. The plan was daring, a targeted strike against a Xal'thar supply convoy that had been observed along the eastern ruins. It was a gamble. Humans were vastly outnumbered, but the element of surprise was theirs. And in war, unpredictability often outweighed raw strength. As night deepened, Alara and her team prepared their weapons. Rifles were checked, explosives primed, and every human present felt the tension of anticipation vibrating through their veins. Lior, though small and trembling, carried a satchel of emergency supplies, determined to play his part. "Remember," Alara whispered to her team, "this is not just about survival. Every move we make, every stand we take reminds them that humans are not prey. We are hunters of our own fate." The humans moved silently through the shattered streets, shadows among shadows. Above them, the alien sentinels floated, unaware of the trap awaiting them. When they reached the eastern ruins, the convoy appeared, a grotesque line of Xal'thar transports pulsating with eerie light. Alara gave the signal. A coordinated explosion rocked the night. Sparks flew, metal twisted, and the aliens scrambled with panic. Humans surged forward, their rifles crackling, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. For the first time, the Xal'thar hesitated. They had never encountered resistance so fierce, so unpredictable. Their disciplined formations faltered, replaced by instinctive confusion. Humans exploited every opening, every distraction, pressing forward with relentless courage. Amid the chaos, Taryn Hale disarmed alien weapons, using ingenious traps he had constructed from scraps. Celine Muir moved among the wounded, her hands steady even as screams echoed around her. And Alara, ever at the front, struck with precise ferocity, her movements a combination of training, instinct, and raw willpower. When the fight ended, the humans had inflicted a decisive blow. The convoy lay in ruins, its energy cores extinguished, its soldiers either fleeing or captured. Yet the cost was evident. Lior's small frame trembled, tears streaking his soot-covered face. A young soldier, barely older than him, sat slumped against rubble, breathing shallowly. Alara knelt beside him, brushing dirt from his hair. "This is hard," she said softly. "It is meant to be hard, but every scar, every tear, every heartbeat reminds us why we fight." As dawn approached, painting the ruins in muted pinks and golds, the humans gathered to count their losses and honor their courage. Each life mattered, and each act of bravery resonated far beyond the battlefield. For the first time, whispers began to circulate among the Xal'thar. The humans were not just survivors. They were a storm no weapon could halt. Alara stood atop a crumbled wall, looking at her weary yet determined people. The horizon was bright with possibility. They were battered but unbroken. The fire of defiance had been lit and it would not die. Somewhere in the alien command, a cold, iridescent voice murmured, "These humans, they are dangerous. We have underestimated them." And that, Alara thought, was exactly what made them unstoppable. The victory at the eastern ruins had been hard won, yet it was only the beginning. The humans of Arendor had proven their courage, but the Xal'thar were far from defeated. From the blackened sky, their ships glimmered like predatory eyes, and their desperation grew with each failed attempt to crush the human spirit. Alara Voss stood atop the remnants of the northern barricade, her amber eyes scanning the horizon. Smoke curled upward from distant fires, and the cries of those who had fallen mingled with the groans of the wounded. Despite it all, she felt a surge of pride. Every human standing around her was a testament to resilience, a living reminder that fear could not dictate fate. Beside her, Taryn Hale adjusted a set of salvaged communications equipment. "We've intercepted some transmissions," he said, his voice low but tense. "The Xal'thar are consolidating forces. They're desperate, and that makes them unpredictable." Alara nodded. "Then we must be ready. Desperate enemies are dangerous, but desperate humans are unstoppable." Among the survivors, whispers of fear persisted. Some wondered if the humans could withstand the next wave. Lior, now a little braver, tugged at Alara's sleeve. "Will they come back stronger?" he asked, voice trembling. "Yes," Alara said gently, "but we are ready. Every scar, every tear, every loss has taught us how to fight smarter, how to survive, how to win." The days that followed were a blur of preparation and reconnaissance. Humans scavenged for weapons, reinforced barricades, and trained one another in ways both ingenious and desperate. They crafted traps from twisted metal, taught children to carry messages through the smoke-choked streets, and memorized every alley and ruin as if it were a lifeline. Alara knew that the Xal'thar would not attack directly. They never did. Their strategy relied on fear, infiltration, and psychic domination. But humanity had discovered something no alien force could anticipate: the power of collective hope. Then came the night when shadows moved like living predators. The Xal'thar launched a covert assault, smaller forces slipping silently through the city's outskirts. Their psychic agents, mind-weavers, sought to paralyze humans with fear, to make them doubt themselves and each other. Alara felt it immediately, a chill, a pressure that threatened to break her mind. But she focused on the faces around her, on the trembling hands and determined eyes of her people. "Do not let them take your fear," she commanded. "Take it from them. Let it fuel your courage." Humans fought with desperation and precision. Even as mind-weavers twisted thoughts and stirred visions of despair, each human acted not just from training but from an inner strength they did not fully understand. They shouted, ducked, and counterattacked with a ferocity that stunned the Xal'thar. Taryn Hale rigged an entire street with improvised charges. One by one, alien scouts were forced into traps that humans had created from ingenuity and instinct. Celine Mir moved through the chaos, tending to wounds with a calm that inspired courage even in the gravest moments. Amid the carnage, Alara spotted a Xal'thar commander, taller and more imposing than the rest, moving to coordinate the attack. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward it, her rifle blazing. The alien faltered, startled by her audacity. For a brief, shining moment, humanity's defiance shone brighter than any fear the aliens could instill. The battle raged until the first light of dawn broke through the smoke-filled sky. When the dust settled, the humans had survived again. Their losses were painful and their scars deep, yet each victory strengthened their resolve. The Xal'thar, however, withdrew in a fury that bordered on panic. They had underestimated the chaos humans could endure, the unpredictability that no disciplined alien army could contain. Alara gathered her team amidst the ruins. Lior ran to her side, clutching a small blanket over a wounded soldier. We did it," he said softly. "Yes," Alara replied, placing a hand on his shoulder. "But this is only the beginning. They will return stronger, smarter. But we will return stronger too. Every loss teaches us. Every scar reminds us we are unstoppable." As the sun rose over Arendor, painting the city in shades of gold and fire, Alara felt a deep, unshakable certainty. Humanity was more than flesh and bone. They were spirit, courage, and the defiance that could strike fear into even the most desperate alien legion. Somewhere far above the city, a Xal'thar voice trembled with unease. These humans, they are unlike any prey we have hunted. They adapt, they fight, they endure, and they will not be contained. Xal'thar smiled faintly at the horizon. One day humanity would not merely survive, they would rise, unrelenting, unstoppable, and remembered forever. Arendor's streets had grown quiet in the days following the shadowed night of infiltration. Fires still smoldered, but the survivors moved with a renewed rhythm, repairing barricades, training, and preparing for the next inevitable clash. Humanity's spirit had begun to feel unstoppable, but Alara Voss knew better than to underestimate the Xal'thar. They had endured raids, psychic attacks, and relentless bombardments. Now the humans would take the fight to the enemy. "Commander," Terran Hale said, voice edged with excitement and concern, "we've located their forward supply station on the outskirts of the Delta Expanse. If we strike there, we can cut off their reinforcements. It's risky, but the payoff is worth it." Ilara's amber eyes narrowed as she studied the maps. The Delta Expanse was a wasteland of jagged rock and deep canyons, a perfect hiding place for alien forces. The terrain would be merciless, the Xal'thar prepared. Yet she felt a surge of determination, a blazing certainty that humanity's courage could overcome any obstacle. "Prepare the teams," she ordered. "We move at first light. Tonight we rest, but tomorrow we take the fight to them." The night was restless. In the quiet moments, humans whispered stories of home, of lost loved ones, of dreams too precious to surrender. Lior sat near a flickering fire, tracing shapes in the ashes with his fingers. "Do you think we'll win?" he asked softly. Alara knelt beside him, her face illuminated by the firelight. "We don't fight because we know we'll win," she said gently. "We fight because we refuse to surrender. And every time we stand, every time we strike back, we make ourselves unstoppable." Dawn arrived with a crimson sky. Humans assembled in the city outskirts, their vehicles scavenged, their weapons prepared, and their hearts unflinching. Alara led them, a beacon of resolve at the forefront. The journey to the Delta Expanse was perilous. Twisted metal, jagged rocks, and alien patrols littered the route. Yet humans moved with a strange, quiet confidence. Each challenge they overcame, each ambush they survived, reinforced the lesson they had learned. The Xal'thar might be stronger individually, but humanity was relentless together. As they neared the alien station, the landscape darkened with foreboding energy. The supply depot pulsed with Xal'thar power, towers bristling with energy weapons and guards that moved with terrifying precision. This was no ordinary battle. They were walking into the heart of enemy territory. Alara signaled her team to split into 3 units, one to disable communications, one to create diversionary attacks, and one, the main strike led by herself and Terran, to assault the supply cores directly. Every human moved with intent, hearts pounding, minds sharpened by fear and courage alike. The attack began with a chorus of explosions and gunfire. Energy beams cut through the sky, leaving streaks of light that illuminated the chaos below. Humans darted from cover to cover, improvising as the battle unfolded. Lior, though small and frightened, delivered critical supplies to the front line, earning nods of respect from soldiers twice his size. Alara led the charge to the core, facing the alien commander she had seen before. This one was larger, faster, and more cunning, but she had learned something in every fight. The Xal'thar relied on fear, precision, and discipline. Humans thrived on unpredictability, resilience, and sheer willpower. The battle was brutal. Humans fell, but the line pressed forward. Inspired by Alara's presence and by the knowledge that survival alone was not enough, they must conquer. They must resist. They must endure. Terran's team rigged explosives around the energy conduits, collapsing alien defenses with ingenuity and precision. Celine moved among the injured, offering words of comfort as much as medical aid. And Alara, facing the alien commander, moved with grace and fury, her every action a testament to humanity's spirit. When the dust settled, the humans had prevailed. The Xal'thar station lay in ruins, their supplies destroyed, their forces in disarray. It was a victory of courage over fear, spirit over strength, and strategy over brutality. But the cost was heavy. Alara surveyed the battlefield, fallen comrades, scorched earth, and the distant fires of alien retreat. Yet within the devastation she saw the spark that had always defined humans: hope. "Today we have struck fear into the heart of the Xal'thar," she said softly. addressing her weary team. But tomorrow we must be ready to strike again. For as long as we stand, as long as we fight, they will never defeat us. We are unstoppable. And far above the Delta expanse, the alien command trembled at a terrifying realization. These humans were more than mere prey. They were a force, fierce and unrelenting, that refused to bend under fear. Alara watched the sunrise paint the wreckage in shades of fire and gold, and she felt an unshakable truth deep in her bones. Humanity would not only survive, they would endure, strike, and rise, again and again, until every alien legion knew the price of underestimating them. The Delta expanse had become a scar upon the Earth, a battlefield where human courage had shattered alien precision, yet victory carried its own burdens. The humans of Arendor returned to the city, battered, weary, and haunted by the echoes of the fallen. Alara Voss walked among them, her step steady but heavy. She had seen enough blood and fear to last a lifetime, yet she refused to let despair settle. Every loss was a lesson, every scar a symbol of survival. She placed a hand on Lior's shoulder as he watched the horizon. "They are not gone," she said quietly. "The Xal'thar will return. But we endure, we remember, we fight again." The city had grown quieter, almost somber. Survivors repaired barricades in silence, tending to wounds both physical and emotional. Faces bore the strain of sleepless nights, of watching friends fall, of hearing the mind weavers whisper lies that clawed at the mind. Humans had endured terror, yet the true test was internal, the struggle against despair and doubt. Terran Hale approached, his brow furrowed. "Commander, the intelligence we gathered from the destroyed station shows a troubling pattern. The Xal'thar are consolidating forces, but they're also experimenting with something new. More aggressive, more cunning. They're studying human psychology, adapting to our tactics." Ilara's gaze hardened. "Then we adapt faster. Every lesson they learn, we learn twice as fast. Every fear they try to exploit, we turn into strength." The first signs of the new threat emerged at dusk. Humans reported hallucinations, strange whispers, and the gnawing sense that something unseen watched them. The Xal'thar were testing a new weapon, a psychic resonance designed to prey on memory and emotion, twisting fear into paralyzing despair. Ilara gathered her closest commanders. "Tonight we face shadows within ourselves," she said. "Not just theirs. The weight of doubt. The whispers of fear. We cannot fight them with guns alone. We fight with spirit." The first encounter was brutal. Human patrols reported men and women frozen mid-step, trapped in visions of loss and hopelessness. Some cowered, others screamed. Lior's small hand shook in Ilara's grip as they moved through the smoke-choked streets. "Do not fight the visions," Ilara instructed. "Acknowledge them and step past them. Fear is a shadow. Courage is the light." They moved as one. Selenmer tended to those who faltered, whispering words of reassurance. Taran rigged small sonic devices that disrupted the psychic resonance, allowing humans to break free from the alien mind trap. In the center of the city, the Xal'thar launched a coordinated attack. Combining their physical assault with psychic terror, towers of energy blazed against the night sky, and alien soldiers surged through the streets with lethal precision. But the humans did not falter. They had learned something the Xal'thar could not calculate: unity under pressure. Each soldier, medic, and scavenger became a node of resistance, passing courage and strength from one to another like an unbroken chain. Ilara faced a group of Xal'thar commanders, their psychic presence pressing against her mind. The images of lost comrades flashed before her eyes, friends, soldiers, even Lior's frightened face. But she held fast. Her voice cut through the darkness like a blade. "Humans endure. We rise, we do not break." Her words spread through the city, reaching the ears and hearts of every human within range. One by one, the frozen, the frightened, and the wounded found their courage. They surged forward, pushing back the Xal'thar with a force the aliens could not anticipate. The battle lasted until dawn. When the light broke over Arendor, the city was scarred but unbroken. The Xal'thar withdrew, their psychic experiment partially defeated, their troops in disarray. Humanity had survived, but they had paid a toll, not only in lives but in the mental and emotional weight of the war. Ilara stood atop a building, overlooking the city. Lior sat beside her, silent but resolute. The survivors moved below, tending to the wounded, repairing barricades, and offering small comforts where they could. Today, We carried the weight of shadows, Alara said softly, and yet we did not break. That is what makes us unstoppable. Not weapons, not numbers, not strength alone, but spirit, courage, the refusal to surrender. Far above, the Xal'thar watched, their fear growing. The humans had faced not just alien fire, but terror itself, and they had emerged stronger. Each encounter had forged them, sharpened them, and made them unpredictable. Alara felt it deep in her bones. Humanity would not merely survive. Humanity would endure. Humanity would strike fear into the hearts of their alien oppressors, not with hatred, but with relentless courage, with unity, with the indomitable fire of the human spirit. And somewhere, in the alien command, a voice trembled. They are unstoppable. The Delta Expanse had taught humans that survival alone was no longer enough. To truly end the threat of the Xal'thar, they had to strike at the heart of the alien forces, to challenge them where they felt untouchable. Alara Voss stood at the edge of the city, amber eyes reflecting both determination and exhaustion. "Terran, how far is the main command station?" she asked, voice calm but unwavering. "Several days' travel," Terran replied, "through canyons and energy fields. But our intelligence suggests it's less defended than we feared, possibly because the Xal'thar underestimate us." Alara's lips curved into a faint smile. That underestimation would be their undoing. Humanity thrived on the unpredictable. Where the Xal'thar planned and calculated, humans adapted, improvised, and endured. The humans departed Arendor at dawn, moving in small, coordinated units to avoid detection. The journey was grueling. Harsh terrain, alien patrols, and psychic interference tested their endurance at every step. Yet with every mile their confidence grew. They were no longer merely survivors. They were hunters. Lior walked beside Alara, carrying supplies and his own quiet resolve. The boy had grown in courage and wisdom beyond his years. "Do you think they'll surrender if we reach the command station?" he asked quietly. Alara shook her head. "No, they don't understand surrender. But they will learn fear, and fear will not stop us. It will remind them that humans cannot be broken." As they neared the alien stronghold, the landscape became jagged and alien, glowing with the strange energy of the Xal'thar. The command station rose like a fortress, its towers pulsing with light that made the air hum with tension. This was the heart of the storm, the pulse of the alien invasion. Alara gathered her team. "This is it," she said. "The moment we've trained for. We move together. We strike hard. And we remind the Xal'thar that humans are not prey. We are the storm they never saw coming." The assault began with a synchronized attack on the outer defenses. Humans darted between cover, improvised explosives ripping through alien patrols, energy beams cut through the night. But humans pressed forward, driven by something deeper than fear or survival, driven by courage, unity, and the raw determination to protect their home. Inside the station, Alara and Terran led the main strike team toward the command core. Alien guards fell to human ingenuity and relentless assault. Every corridor was a test, every encounter a battle of will. Yet humans moved as one, their collective courage a force no Xal'thar calculation could predict. When they reached the core chamber, the largest Xal'thar commander awaited. Its presence radiated power and control, a psychic force that threatened to crush human minds. The air itself seemed alive with tension. Alara raised her rifle, her mind clear. They rely on fear, they rely on control, but they forget one thing: humans are unstoppable. Not because of our weapons, not because of our numbers, but because we refuse to break. The battle in the chamber was chaotic, intense, and brutal. Energy clashed with bullets. Alien power met human ingenuity. Yet for every attack the Xal'thar launched, the humans countered with resolve. Lior delivered critical supplies and distractions. Celine Mur supported the wounded. And Terran Hale manipulated the station's energy conduits, turning alien strength into weakness. In a final, decisive act, Alara and her team detonated the station's core, collapsing the command structure and sending shockwaves through the alien forces. Towers crumbled, energy pulses faltered, and the Xal'thar were thrown into disarray. Humanity had struck at the very heart of the enemy, a feat they had never before attempted. As they emerged from the ruins, dawn broke over the battlefield. Humans stood amidst the wreckage, exhausted, battered, yet unbroken. Lior looked around, eyes wide. "We Did it, he whispered. Alara placed a hand on his shoulder, her gaze toward the horizon. Yes, she said softly, we did. But remember, this is more than a battle. It's a declaration. Humanity will not bow. Humanity will not break. And every alien force that faces us will learn the same lesson. We are unstoppable. Far above the planet, the Xal'thar watched, their control fractured, their confidence shattered. For the first time they felt a fear unfamiliar and unmanageable. The humans, small and fragile in appearance, had struck at the heart of their empire and survived. Alara stood tall amidst her people, the morning sun painting the ruins in gold and fire. She felt the weight of all who had fallen, all who had fought, and all who had endured. Humanity had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength but through spirit, courage, and unity. The storm had passed. For now. But humanity had proven something eternal. When fear rises, courage answers. When hope wavers, determination strengthens. And when the impossible stands before them, humans strike. Not with hesitation, but with the unstoppable force of spirit. The world beneath Arendor's skies was scarred, yet alive. Fires flickered among ruins, smoke curled into the air like silent tributes, and the wind carried the faint hum of humanity's endurance. Alara Voss stood atop the tallest building still standing, her amber eyes scanning the horizon where Xal'thar ships now lingered in cautious retreat. They had fought battles that tested every fiber of their being, physical strength, cunning, and the most delicate of human traits, hope. But tonight, as the stars shimmered above the fractured city, a profound truth settled within her. Humans were unbroken, unstoppable, and unafraid. Terran, Alara said softly, her voice carrying over the quiet streets below, we've faced the impossible, yet here we stand. The Xal'thar know our strength now, and more importantly, they know they cannot destroy our spirit. Terran Hale, weary and streaked with grime, nodded. They underestimated us from the start. Every attack we endured, every counter we launched, it changed the battlefield in our favor. And not because we were stronger, but because we never surrendered. Celine Murr approached, holding a small satchel of supplies, her face softened by relief. She knelt beside a recovering soldier, offering quiet comfort. The people are scared, she said, but hope is stronger than fear, and it's contagious. Alara looked down at Lior, whose small figure had grown taller in the shadow of war. You see, she said, kneeling to his level, this is why we fight. Not just for today, but for every tomorrow we can reach. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing up even when the fear threatens to overwhelm you. A ripple of murmurs traveled through the remaining human defenders. They were exhausted, many grieving, yet they held themselves straighter than ever. Their scars told stories of survival. Their eyes told stories of defiance. And their hearts carried a fire the Xal'thar could not extinguish. In the skies above, the alien fleet hesitated. Their psychic assaults had failed. Their strategies had been countered, their reinforcements destroyed. Even the mightiest of their commanders had fallen to the unrelenting determination of humans. A cold alien voice whispered through their command channels. These humans, they are unstoppable. Alara raised her voice, carrying her words across the battlefield, across the city, across the shattered landscape. Hear me, all who fight, all who watch, all who endure, we are not merely survivors. We are humans, and humans do not bow, do not break, and never surrender. The declaration echoed like thunder through every alley, every rooftop, every battered barricade. Humans across the city responded instinctively, voices rising in chorus, rifles and tools raised in defiance. The simple act of standing together, forging a chain of courage stronger than any weapon. Even Lior's small voice joined the chant. A spark of innocence turned into resilience. We will endure. The Xal'thar, despite their advanced weaponry and intelligence, began a slow, reluctant retreat. They had underestimated the unquantifiable force of humanity, hope forged in adversity, courage born from fear, and unity tempered in fire. As dawn broke over Arendor, golden and fierce, the city seemed to breathe again. Humans gathered, tending to the wounded, honoring the fallen, and silently acknowledging that something had shifted. They had not only survived, they had triumphed in spirit. Alara descended from her vantage point, walking among her people. She touched the shoulder of each soldier, each civilian who had fought or endured, her amber eyes locking with theirs. This is our victory, she said, voice gentle but unwavering. Not because we destroyed the enemy entirely, but because we proved to ourselves and to them that humanity cannot be broken. In the silence that followed, a new dawn rose. The smoke of war lingered, but so did the light of resilience. Humanity had faced annihilation, psychic manipulation, and unimaginable odds, and had not only survived, but struck fear into the hearts of an empire that thought itself invincible. Lior, standing beside her, looked out at the horizon. "Do you think they'll come back?" he asked, voice small but steady. "They might," Alara replied, placing her hand over his. "But that is no longer the question. The question is, will we stand? And we will. Always. We are humans. And humans are unstoppable." Far above, in the void of space, the Xal'thar fleet regrouped. Their commanders' voices trembled, their once unshakable confidence fractured. The legend of humanity's defiance had begun. They would not forget the fire, the courage, the unyielding spirit that had risen against them. And somewhere deep within, the seed of fear had been planted. Fear of a species that refused to be conquered. Alara turned back to the city, amber eyes reflecting sunlight and smoke. Humanity had risen, unbroken, unyielding, unstoppable, and this was only the beginning.